My name is Ellsworth Wareham. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon and practice that as my specialty all my professional life.
Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, regarded as the world's oldest practicing heart surgeon, was an extraordinary figure in the medical world. Not only did he achieve global recognition as a pioneering heart surgeon, but he also became a symbol of healthy aging and longevity, living to the remarkable age of 104. He is one of the first surgeons to perform open heart surgery and continued his remarkable surgical career into 74 years of age. Dr. Wareham continued mentoring and assisting the residents at the medical university until age 95. Beyond 100, he continued his active life in sharing his knowledge on longevity. In this video, Dr. Wareham shares 7 tips for living a healthy life beyond 100, including his daily diet and the one vitamin he never goes without.
I practiced cardiothoracic surgery until I was 95.
Here are 7 longevity tips directly from Dr. Wareham. 1. Follow your passion. Dr. Ellsworth Wareham was a pioneer in open heart surgery, one of the first to practice it in the United States and the very first at Loma Linda University. When asked about his decision to become a doctor, he shared, "You know how people say they had their call to something. I felt that I was actually called to be a doctor. There was never any question in my mind about it." His passion for medicine kept him actively engaged in his career well beyond the typical retirement age. He continued performing surgeries until he was 74 and remained involved in the operating room, mentoring medical students and assisting in heart procedures until the remarkable age of 95. He ultimately chose to retire, not out of necessity, but simply to spend more time with his family.
But I picked 95 as an arbitrary time when I would quit.
Research suggests that people who find meaning in their work and enjoy what they do tend to live longer. Studies have linked a strong sense of purpose in one's career to increased longevity, often due to lower stress levels, better mental health, and a greater motivation to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Psychologists Howard S. Friedman and Leslie R. Martin explored these findings in the Longevity Project. Their extensive research revealed that individuals who remained productive throughout their lives were generally healthier and lived longer than their less driven peers. Dr. Wareham stands as living proof of these findings, a testament to the power of passion, purpose, and lifelong engagement. 2. A purpose-driven life. The second tip for longevity from Dr. Wareham is that living a life with purpose positively influences longevity. Dr. Wareham served in World War II as a U.S. Navy doctor, and one day on a destroyer near the Philippines, his captain became injured after falling off the boat. Despite Dr. Wareham's insistence to immediately operate on the man, who had a ruptured discus and a rigid abdomen, surgeons delayed the procedure, which eventually led to his captain's death from an abdominal infection. Dr. Wareham said, "His captain's death compelled him to want to make a difference." He remembers, "I decided then that I would become a well-qualified surgeon." With such determination, he rigorously studied and trained the newly established open heart surgery procedures. Wareham's mentors advised him to study chest surgery before he concluded his graduate program. The training involved operating on the chest and the chest wall, a method that preceded open heart surgery. Wareham prolonged his residency for 2 years and continued his training at the St. Francis Hospital for Cardiac Children in Roslyn, New York. "When I got into practice, I got paid fees for doing surgery, and I thought, this is really something. I have all this fun and get paid for it. It's like any hobby, like a little old lady knitting with her hands." After his residency, in 1955, Wareham returned to Loma Linda University, where he had previously completed his initial medical training in 1937. He performed the first open heart surgery at the school in 1958. For 22 years, Wareham served as chief of cardiothoracic surgery until he retired at age 74, 2 years later than the typical maximum retirement age for cardiothoracic surgeons at the medical college. In the 1960s, Wareham traveled with a team of doctors and nurses, including his wife, Barbara Wareham, a nurse, to train surgeons with the International Heart Institute. Among their destinations were Pakistan, Greece, and Saudi Arabia, where, prior to the Loma Linda University overseas heart surgery team's arrival, many people who needed these operations often died. Here in America, say California, if a person comes to me and I don't do surgery on him, he can go down the street and get it done by somebody else, but in most countries, there was no way for them to have heart surgery. If they had money, they'd go abroad to England or the US. It was a very challenging situation, and the people were very grateful. 3. Strong family and social connection. Ellsworth and Barbara Wareham met at Glendale Adventist Hospital in 1948, when Ellsworth, 35, was a resident in surgery, and Barbara, 21, was a nursing student. "Once I went out with him, the younger men didn't quite do it," Barbara told FoxNews.com. "He arrived at the door with flowers and tickets to the light opera. I thought he was a keeper at the time." Barbara and Ellsworth raised their 5 children on a 40-acre apple orchard in Oak Glen, California, about 22 miles from Loma Linda University. When he reached 95 years of age, he said he was still on top and could do surgeries. However, he retired because he wanted to spend more time with his family. Multiple studies have shown that people with strong family connections tend to live longer, with research indicating that a close family network can significantly reduce the risk of mortality, primarily by providing emotional support and mitigating stress during challenging times. Being socially disconnected, for example, is associated with higher risk of illnesses, including heart disease, stroke, anxiety, depression, and dementia. Loneliness and social isolation have also been shown to increase the risk for premature death by 26% and 29% respectively. Now let's look into more practical tips for longevity that you can take with you at home. 4. Resting well with good night's sleep. Each day, Dr. Wareham ensures he gets 8 to 9 hours of rest, waking up at 5 a.m. His morning routine begins with drinking 3 glasses of water before doing anything else. Research suggests that maintaining a consistent sleep schedule and rising early may contribute to longevity and overall health. Studies from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine and the Whitehall II study have linked 6 to 8 hours of regular sleep to lower risks of cardiovascular disease and mortality, while irregular sleep patterns can accelerate aging. A 2019 Nature Communications study found that early risers tend to have better mental well-being and a lower risk of disease, whereas night owls face a 10% higher mortality risk, according to Chronobiology International. Additionally, Harvard Medical School research indicates that poor sleep can shorten telomeres, speeding up cellular aging. By prioritizing sufficient rest and maintaining a disciplined morning routine, Dr. Wareham exemplifies how healthy sleep habits can support both longevity and overall well-being. 5. Exercise and moving the body. Throughout his long and healthy life, Dr. Wareham prioritized staying active by incorporating movement into his daily routine. Rather than structured workouts, he preferred goal-oriented activities that kept him physically engaged while serving a purpose. His exercise came naturally through tasks like mowing the lawn, tending to his garden, and frequently walking up and down the stairs. He dedicated up to 10 hours a week to maintaining his yard, proving that staying active doesn't always require a formal workout regimen. Dr. Wareham often referenced a Stanford University study, which found that climbing a flight of stairs 20 times per week was associated with a 46% lower risk of death from heart disease. Given his commitment to movement and overall well-being, it's no surprise that Dr. Wareham remained sharp and independent, even continuing to drive past the age of 100. 6. Loma Linda Blue Zone Healthy Lifestyle. Dr. Wareham lived in Loma Linda, California, one of the world's 5 blue zones, a term coined by longevity researcher Dan Buettner to describe regions where people live significantly longer and healthier lives. Loma Linda's residents, many of whom, like Wareham, are Seventh-day Adventists, have a life expectancy that is 9 to 11 years longer than the average American. Studies suggest that this longevity is largely due to their lifestyle, which emphasizes a plant-based diet, regular physical activity, and the avoidance of smoking and alcohol. Additionally, Loma Linda has a strong community of retirees and programs designed to support its aging population. In particular, men in Loma Linda live 6 to 7 years longer than the average American man. However, diet alone does not account for the remarkable longevity seen in blue zones. Buettner has highlighted other key factors, such as regular movement, strong social circles that reinforce healthy habits, a deep sense of community, and effective stress management. In Loma Linda, for example, healthful eating is deeply ingrained in religious beliefs. The Adventists celebrate their Sabbath on Saturday instead of Sunday, Buettner explains. They take their diet directly from the Bible. Genesis 1 verse 29 lays out the diet of the Garden of Eden. For Seventh-day Adventists, health is a spiritual commitment. They believe in treating the body with care and avoiding harmful substances, often eschewing rich, fatty foods and embracing a plant-based diet. Dr. Wareham embodied this philosophy, demonstrating how faith, lifestyle, and community can work together to promote a long, healthy life. 7. A plant-based diet.
I happen to be a vegan. I've been a vegan now for about half my life. I think that that's a healthy form of nutrition.
Dr. Wareham maintained a simple yet disciplined eating routine, consuming only 2 meals a day. His breakfast at 10 a.m. always included whole wheat cereal with almond milk, sometimes accompanied by fruit or nuts. His second and final meal at 4 p.m. was a plant-based dinner packed with vegetables, grains, and nuts. He avoided animal products entirely, citing research from the Cleveland Clinic that linked a low-fat vegan diet to the prevention and even reversal of heart disease.
Dr. Esselstyn of the Cleveland Clinic, he says that coronary artery disease does not need to exist. There have been only 2 people in the world that I know of that have demonstrated that they can arrest and reverse coronary artery disease, and they are Dr. Dean Ornish of San Francisco and Dr. Esselstyn of the Cleveland Clinic, and they both did it on a low-fat vegan diet. If you go on a low-fat vegan diet and you exercise, your chances of developing coronary disease will be very low. Get that cholesterol under 140. My cholesterol is 117. If I have some pain in my chest, I know it is not coronary disease because at 117, I'm not going to develop it. If your cholesterol is under 140, very, very seldom that anybody has a heart attack who has a cholesterol of 140. Now, the factors that influence your cholesterol are things that we should know about. And one of the factors is the amount of saturated fat. And most animal fat is saturated, whereas the vegetable fat is unsaturated or monosaturated. So you have to avoid the animal fats. Now, there are those scientists, including Dr. Colin Campbell of Cornell University, that say that animal proteins will also affect your cholesterol, not just the fat. In other words, you pour off the cream off your milk and drink the skim milk. Even the casein of the milk will raise your cholesterol. And then people say also high intake of sugar will affect your cholesterol. So if you can keep your cholesterol under 140, your chances of developing coronary disease are very small. Exercise is beneficial in reducing your cholesterol, but if you're taking in a considerable amount of saturated fat, you can't exercise enough to lower it as much as it should be lowered. The easiest way to get your cholesterol down is to watch what you eat. Now, you can lower your cholesterol by exercise, but I'm talking about 15 or 20 milligrams per cent, something like that. But if you get on a vegan diet, which is low fat, you can drop it much more.
In the final section, Dr. Wareham reveals the one vitamin he takes that alleviated his concerns about following a vegan diet.
When I found out that I could get by taking a little vitamin B12, why, of course, I then became entirely vegan. I think that it has been a very fine form of nutrition.